All right, today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and kind of weird locations on our entire planet. It's a place that's, on one hand, a symbol of pure, untouched nature, and on the other, a symbol of just how far humanity's trash can reach. This is the story of Point Nemo.
I mean, really think about that for a second. Imagine being so far from civilization, so completely and utterly isolated, that the people floating in a space station above your head are your nearest neighbors. Well, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot, it's a real place on planet Earth.
So welcome to Point Nemo. Yeah, it's named after Captain Nemo from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which is pretty cool. But its official name is the Oceanic Pole of Inaccessibility. And let me tell you, it has earned that name. It is without a doubt the most remote spot on the entire globe.
So just how remote are we talking? Well, Point Nemo is 2,688 kilometers. That's over 1,600 miles from any piece of land. To the north, you've got Pitcairn Island. To the northeast, Easter Island. And way down south, Mahar Island in Antarctica. You are literally in the middle of a gigantic, empty patch of ocean.
Now here's the part that just blows my mind. The International Space Station orbits about 400 kilometers above the Earth. So that means when the ISS flies over Point Nemo, the astronauts inside are hundreds of kilometers closer to that spot than any other human being standing on solid ground. Isn't that wild?
You know, you'd think a place this remote would be dark and forbidding. But in 2024, an adventurer named Chris Brown actually went there, one of the few people ever. And he said he expected black water, but what he found was water that was glowing blue, almost neon. He called it stunning, beautiful, a perfect, untouched piece of wilderness. Or is it?
Because right here is where our story takes a huge, dramatic turn. This beautiful, lonely location has a secret. A really big one. It's got a second identity that you would never, ever guess.
That's right. The loneliest place on Earth is also a cosmic junkyard. It is the designated crash zone for dead satellites, old rocket stages, and even entire space stations. When we're done with our high-tech gear in orbit, this is where we send it to die.
And this is nothing new. Space agencies have been using Point Nemo as a cosmic garbage dump since way back in 1971. Its most famous resident is probably the huge Russian Mir space station, which came down in a fiery blaze in 2001. By 2016, more than 263 spacecraft were already resting there. And guess what's next? Yep, in 2030, the International Space Station is scheduled to join the graveyard.
So, you might be wondering, why do we even need a spacecraft cemetery? Why are we throwing things into the ocean? Well, to answer that, we have to look up. Way up. The problem doesn't start in the ocean, it starts in orbit.
There's a saying that low Earth orbit is basically the world's largest garbage dump. And it's not wrong. For decades, we've been launching stuff into space, and when it stops working, it just becomes junk, what they call orbital space debris. It's like a massive, invisible cloud of garbage just circling our planet at incredible speeds.
Let's talk numbers for a sec, because they're pretty staggering. Right now, there are more than 6,000 tons of our stuff orbiting the Earth. That's like the weight of 1,000 elephants just floating over our heads.
And all that weight is broken up into a mind-boggling number of pieces. We're talking an estimated 128 million objects that are a millimeter or bigger. And you gotta remember, at orbital speeds, even a tiny fleck of paint can hit with the force of a bowling ball. It's seriously dangerous. So where's all this junk coming from? Well, a few places. Sometimes it's actually on purpose, like when countries test anti-satellite weapons and just obliterate a satellite into thousands of pieces. Other times, it's an accident, like in 2009 when two satellites just smashed into each other. And then you have all the other stuff. Old rockets with leftover fuel that explode, or even things as simple as an astronaut dropping a glove during a spacewalk. And all of this junk leads to a really terrifying scenario called the Kessler syndrome. The idea is that eventually there's going to be so much debris up there that a single collision will set off a chain reaction. One crash creates more debris, which causes more crashes, and so on, until Earth is surrounded by an impassable field of shrapnel, essentially trapping us on our own planet.
Which brings us right back down to Point Nemo. Okay, so crashing big things into the ocean stops them from cluttering up orbit. That makes sense, but it raises a huge question. Are we just trading one massive pollution problem for another?
I mean, it really feels like it should be, right? We're taking this incredibly complex technology, full of all sorts of materials and toxic chemicals, and we're just sinking it on purpose and what's supposed to be a pristine environment. So, is it actually a crime?
Well, believe it or not, the answer is no. Legally, it's a total gray area. See, Point Nemo is in international waters, the high seas. No single country controls it. And there's just no international law that says, hey, you can't dump your dead satellite here. The big space treaties were written during the Cold War. They were worried about countries putting nukes in space, not about protecting the environment.
This legal loophole is why a whole new field of study is popping up called astro-green criminology. And the key idea here is to stop focusing on what is technically a crime and start focusing on what causes harm. Just because something isn't illegal doesn't mean it's okay, right? This lets us actually look at the real-world damage our actions in space are having, both up there and down here.
So let's talk about that. What is the true impact? Putting aside the legal stuff, what are the actual consequences of turning the loneliest place on Earth into a cosmic landfill? Well, the risks are pretty serious. First, there's just the physical danger of giant metal objects falling out of the sky. They aim carefully, but things can go wrong. Then you have the chemical risk. A lot of these spacecraft run on super toxic rocket fuel like hydrazine. And maybe the scariest part, the radioactive risk. Some old Soviet satellites were actually powered by nuclear reactors. One of them crashed over Canada back in 1978 and scattered radioactive material everywhere.
And this just brings us full circle to the paradox of Point Nemo. On one side, it's this stunningly beautiful, remote wilderness with neon blue water and even seabirds flying around. And on the other side, it's a dump. It's a junkyard for our most advanced creations. It is both a pristine frontier and a polluted graveyard, all at the very same time.
Which really just leaves us with one final kind of heavy thought. We have managed to pollute the single most inaccessible spot on our planet, not from a boat, but from outer space. Our footprint stretches from orbit all the way down to the deepest part of the ocean. So you have to ask yourself, if we've managed to leave our mark here, of all places, is there anywhere left on Earth that's truly untouched?